There we go. Welcome to the stream, everyone. We are doing a Gladiator Beasts finals today in the early hours of the morning for, well, not early. It's 9 a.m. EST, so, earlier than usual, but not like too early. But this should be a fun one. It is going to be between Prodigy and Alifia 2. aka Run from Red versus Alifia 2 here. Let me mute the DB sounds. And yeah, it's been a while since I've live streamed one of the finals here. So yeah, it should be good. But I'll make a poll saying who will win. Will it be Alifia 2 or Prodigy? Also, I just realized that Prodigy's name is Prodigy, like, a prodigy, like someone who's very good. So good fun there. But yeah, it's going to be up there. So it seems like people are already, 100% for Alifia 2, but that's just one vote in now. So things could change over time. But they're starting things off here. We got Alifia 2 with the Wing Karibo sleeves. We got Run from Red with the regular sleeves. But who will be able to win here? Now, I won't reveal what these players are playing yet. I'll sort of let it play out. But, we had a pretty diverse tournament overall. We had a pretty interesting top cut. It wasn't just Gladiator Beast, despite Gladiator Beast being perceived as like the, best deck in the format. There was some light sworn decks. There was some, there's a hero beat deck as well, which I'll be sort of testing out after the tournament wraps up, and I can use the list. But yeah, so it was interesting, and I don't necessarily think that means the format isn't tier 0 Glad Beast, because it was still a relatively small tournament, but it does show that there are some other things you could do, and it could be more similar to something like GOAT format, where Chaos Turbo is widely regarded as the best deck in the format, but it's not tier 0. You can still play other decks and win as long as you're good enough at it. But we see Darius coming down here, so Alifia 2 is indeed on Gladiator Beast. And they're going to attack in to Run from Red set here. So let's see what that is. Run for Red thinking about this. And they're going to book down the Darius, preventing it from getting its effect at the end of the battle phase there. Probably a good idea, especially if that set would, not be able to withstand the Darius. But even if it was able to withstand the Darius, Alifia 2 can just bring out Murmillo, pop the monster, which would then be face up. And that wouldn't be the best for Run from Red. Rhoda coming down here in main 2, going for probably Stratos or Prisma. It looks like they're going to go for Stratos here. So, seems like they're not going to try and set up a Geyser's play on the following turn. They're going to potentially, take it a bit slow, just get a big guy that can beat over Run for Red stuff a bit, and, also get that search going. But Run for Red is going to think about what to do here, and it is definitely a thinker depending on what that back row is. If you have a way to clear the back row, then the move is probably just to flip up your set and then attack in. But it looks like they're going to summon out Murmillo here, revealing that they are also on Gladiator Beasts. And this is sort of why I said at the beginning of the stream that, like, it is... okay, they're going to go for Test Tiger here as well. Probably going for Bestiari to pop the back row. Oh my goodness, double Test Tiger here. What are they doing is the question. Morphing Jar. Okay, that is why they're going for this. I feel like if I was Run from Red here, I might just go for the Test Tiger first. Go into Bestiari, pop the back row, and then bring out the other Test Tiger afterwards, because there's not really a risk to doing that, whereas you potentially play into a TT going for the second Test Tiger. But honestly, it doesn't really matter that much, because, like, you're gonna, if they got TT, they got TT. They would have used it on the first Test Tiger, so... I guess it does play around if, like, Alifia 2 has book or something set, and they're waiting for the Test Tiger to distribute itself before going for that book, which is also a possibility. So I guess it makes sense there. Yeah, so that probably was the right play from Run for Red there. And Bestiary going to pop that back row, being in Mirror Force, so not quite enough there. Run for Red thinking about this. It's not necessarily the most ideal situation for them to be in here, actually. Um, there are, it's tricky here. Like, you could just attack him with Bestie, attack in with Test Tiger and Morphing Jar, but then the Test Tiger, like, it's not really that good. I mean, it's just kind of weird here what you want to do. If they drew protection from battle, right, like, then you can potentially just attack him with Bestie, go into Laquari or something, and then leave it at that, leaving the Test Tiger on your field. But then that's risky into things like brain control, is risky into actually a lot of things. So, yeah, it is definitely a big thing. Unfortunately, no Bestiary in Graveyard, so you can't really go for a Darius play here. And you could go for a Darius play, just bring back like a Plomus or something, I guess. Oh, Reborn. Okay, Reborn is interesting, going for the Darius play now, it looks like. So they're going to go for a Prisma here, and this can actually set up a pretty nasty Heraclinos play. So you probably go Prisma into Laquari, just get that set up in great. No, they're going for the Bestiary there. I mean, it still doesn't really make a difference that much here, because you can go into Laquari on your field here at the end of the battle phase. So Test Tiger back the Prisma, go into probably not Darius now. You'd probably go into, doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, you can set up a Laquari play. So I think they're going for a Heraclinos play here, because that is pretty good. The issue is that Morphing Jar is just vulnerable here. The Morphing Jar is just going to be sort of a liability for Run from Red, because, you know, any Gladiator Beast that LFU2 brings out can just attack over the Morphing Jar. And that's not really going to change here unless you go for Murmillo to pop the Morphing Jar, which actually might be a move. It might be the move to do. But you can always do that, like, well, actually, no, you can't do that now at the end of the battle phase, because you sent the Bestiary instead of the Laquari there. So if you're trying to set up for the Heraclinos play, oh, they've got a Secutor. Okay, that explains some things. Yeah, that's pretty nasty there. So yeah, that's pretty nasty, because they'll be able to get out multiple Glad Beasts here at the end of the battle phase. So now you go for Murmillo Laquari, I guess, and then you shuffle back. Well, no, that still leaves the Secutor vulnerable. So that's the tricky thing. So they have to have a way to deal with that. I think you still probably go for Murmillo Laquari, because you don't want that Morphing Jar around. It just clears up zones for your Secutor, right? So there's Laquari. Yep. Will Murmillo come down is the question. That I would bring out Murmillo to pop the Morphing Jar, but maybe they've got like a Book of Moon to reset it or something. But they're just gonna go double Laquari here. I guess that's fine too. And now probably the Heraclinos here. You can even shovel back the Secutor. It might have been the best move here, honestly. Might have been. No, it probably wasn't. Well, you probably want to send back the Prisma, because it's like, I mean, unless you got a third Test Tiger, but or another way to get into the Bestiary, which they might have, but I don't know. It looks like they're going to think about this. I would just go Heraclinos. Yeah, it looks like they're going to go Heraclinos. They're going to send back the Secutor as well as those Laquaris there. And if you're doing this, I would have just sent back. I mean, I don't know, because then it's awkward, because then you just have Murmillo lying around, I guess. But I don't know. This is why I potentially would have gone. Yeah, it's tricky here if you want to get the Secutor play off, which is very good, to be fair. But I guess if you got backward to protect the Morphing Jar, that's pretty good for you as well. But this does leave the Heraclinos open to a potential, you know, pop off Murmillo if LFE2 has it there. But Dushu's going to come down, so the last card here is going to be something that needs to protect the Morphing Jar, if it is that. But, you know, Run for Red only has 2 cards in hand, so if LFE2 has 3 ways to deal with that set, then that is going to be pretty good for them. So Cold Wave is a likely one that they could have. right? So you activate Cold Wave. Okay, it looks like they do have Cold Wave, so they have Cold Wave, Brain, Book of Moon, DD Crow, and Solemn, and those will be 3 cards that can deal with the Heraclinos there, but didn't deal with them perfectly. Um, Actually, no, wait, it does, because you activate Cold Wave first. No, it doesn't, because you don't have a Glad Beast. The Cold Wave did not threaten anything here. So yeah, that's just going to be rough, and they just have to turtle up here. It's very unfortunate, but it is what you have to do. I was thinking, like, you know, you go Cold Wave to bait out the first Heraclinos negate, then you go Brain Con on the Laquari, or you probably do Book of Moon on the Heraclinos, and then you do Brain Con on the Laquari, but no, with no Glad Beast in hand, that Cold Wave is not going to be a threat here to run from red, so they could just let that go through and leave it at that. So you've got to go for this, which is turtling up. Not ideal, but it is what it is, you know. So that Stratus there going to replace itself, so you still have 3 cards in hand and negate with the Heraclinos, and now things get a lot harder. So they know it's a DD Crow, and they know the back rows are fake, basically, so they can just attack in Morphing Jar, and then it is actually lethal damage, because the Heraclinos can just negate the Book of Moon. So, yep, that will indeed be the end of the game. Yeah, and even if Alpha 2 had solemned the Stratos, it would still be lethal, because, you know, Morphing Jar plus, you know, Heraclinos and Laquari would be the end of the game. So, it looks like the votes are now 50-50 for Prodigy and Alpha 2. So, yep, that's just going to be the end of game 1. Rough stuff, but Run from Red was able to set up a board that was very, very resilient into what Alpha 2 had. Although, I will say, if Alpha 2 had another Gladiator Beast, then potentially this could have been different, but the Dust Shoot did seal that up. So, yeah. I will say, even if they had a Glad Beast there, right, and the book Cold Wave Braincon, right, it still might not have been enough, too. That's an important thing to note, because the back row could have been a live thing to protect the Morphing Jar, right, which I feel like it probably was, because, like, it's just very, very vulnerable position to just leave the Morphing Jar there and attack, otherwise. Although that is the risk that you potentially take. But they did have double Test Tiger, so double Test Tiger could potentially clean that up if you needed to. So if you didn't draw a back row to protect, what you'd probably do is you'd go Test Tiger number 1 for Ramillo, pop the Morphing Jar, and then Test Tiger number 2 for Bestiary to pop the back row, and do that sort of thing. Or, you know, it just opens you up to weird sort of scenarios. But it'd probably still be worth it. And then you can still end on Heraclinos if you go for that line, because, you know, you'd still have the Reborn for the Prisma to send something, and then you just tag Bestiary out into, well, you'd have to send the Laquari first, and then you'd go for Darius. So that would actually lose you to DD Crow there, but it wouldn't be terrible. So yeah. But the line that Run for Red did, you know, imply that they did have a back row that could protect the Morphing Jar, and having that, they went for a line that played around the Crow and still ended on the Heraclinos and the Laquari, although it did leave the Morphing Jar vulnerable. The idea being that with a Dust Shoot, with, you know, a back row that could protect the Morphing Jar, it would ultimately be fine. Alpha 2 just passing to Run from Red here right away, so it seems like their hand is not the best into Gladiator Beasts, which means that they probably don't have much defensive power there. Or they're just, you know, biding their time, too. Like, they don't necessarily want to play into a Heavy Storm plus something else. So, Run for Red just setting 3, passing back, not going for a Gladiator Beast tag out here, which is quite interesting. But it seems like they do have either Crush Card or Dust Shoot. They're asking about things in standby, so that means that those are basically the 2 options. Crush Card Virus getting shotgunned here in standby phase, saying, I just want to see that back row too. I wouldn't have necessarily done this. I would have potentially saved it for a summon. Because if Gladiator Beast still has, like, Murmillo in hand, then they can get in. Or Hiplomas if they're playing that in games 2 or 3, which generally wouldn't play Hiplomas against Glad Beasts, I assume. I wouldn't, at least. But But it seems like they've got DD Crow, Heavy, Reborn, Panther, and Bottomless. Okay, so that means that they can go for a Reborn play here if they want to, Reborning the Darius and then attacking in. This does play into the back row, but you do have Heavy for that. It might be worth just heavying the back row just to establish a Gladiator Beast set up on board here. Because unfortunately, that Crush card is going to make it so it's very tough to set up another Gladiator Beast on board here. So it looks like they're just going to play it safe, though. They're going to set one pass. That, to me, is the Bottomless. It wouldn't be anything besides the Bottomless here. Seems like they're saving the Reborn play. They're not getting quite too aggressive just yet. I think it's fine because you do have... You can go into an instant Geyserus if your opponent ever commits a Glad Beast because you go Heavy on the back row, then Reborn a Panther, target the Gladiator Beast that your opponent has, copy the effect, Reborn the Prisma, and send Bestiari, and then you've got a Geyserus play, right? So, I mean, Red for Red could have another DD Crow in hand as well because, they did use one for the Crush card. But I feel like, LP2 does have a very threatening play if Run for Red ever does commit. And this is why the Gladiator Beast mirror match is very interesting. You got to know when to commit, when to not commit, because if you leave too much on field for your opponent and don't finish them off enough, they can easily just use that for a crackback in a very brutal way. So, Run for Red is off to a great start here, don't get me wrong. Like, that Crush Card Virus is going to be very good here, especially if it does stop more Gladiator Beast draws from LFU2. But it is also, it's not leaving them open to things, it's just, LFU2 does have a crackback ready in case Run for Red ever does more stuff there. And this is why the Gladiator Beast deck is also very good, just in general, too. It's good in the mirror, it's good against other decks, because it can set up, like, these brutal boards to break through. You can either break your board with Geyserus, or it can set up a Heraclinos play to just prevent you from playing the game. Cold Wave coming down here, and that will go through. It has to go through, because we know LFU2 doesn't have any way to stop it. That does stop a potential crackback from LFU2 with the Reborn on the Prisma. And it also does allow Run from Red to potentially pop that set card there with a Bestiari, which they are likely going to do. So Laquari tagging in for 18, and then going into that Bestiari. And the Bestiari will be safe from pretty much anything this turn because Cold Wave is up. And also, any monster with 1500 or more attack is going to be popped from LFU2. So this does give Run from Red some free turns of stuff to do. They might be thinking, like, do we go for Secutor here instead of Bestiari? But I think the move is just go Bestiari while you can. Get that value there, going for that Bestiari, popping the Bottomless, and then pass back to LFU2 on a pretty nasty board there, because now the Reborn, or not the Reborn, but the Crush Card Virus will get fired. Mirror Force drawn, that's very good, but not for now, because you don't have anything to do with it. So yeah, it's going to be pretty good here. Now, as a note, if Run for Red does not have another Cold Wave here, then LFU2 is going to have a very good turn next turn here. Because you do have the Heavy, you do have the Reborn for the Panther, or Reborn plus the Panther, that is. And you can get going there. So, yeah, and I don't see how Run for Red makes a... I mean, they can make a Heraclinos if you've got Test Tiger here to go into Secutor. But if you don't have that, then this is going to be pretty tricky here. Rhoda here. So actually, this can, well, no, you still, oh yeah, you can go in, no, because DD Crow is in the opponent's hand. So, yeah, you can't quite go for a Heraclinos play here with guarantee, right? Because the DD Crow is just going to come down and, kill that plan. I can bait out the DD Crow, though, so that's something, but yeah, unfortunately won't be ideal here. And if you do go, well, it's probably fine to go for the play. If you've got a Crow of your own, also, it's fine to do this play because you won't end with a Glad Beast and Grave. So, yeah. Rhoda, it could just get Stratos, right? And then you're just sort of playing it slow, setting up Prisma for the following turn. Looks like they are going to go for the Stratos here, just getting in damage while they can. This is a fair amount of damage, 3,300. That's over half of LFU2's life points here. You set up for Prisma on the following turn, so you do have that online. Gives you something to do. And also the note, next turn will be Alpha 2's last turn under Crush Guard Virus. So, you know, they are still definitely in this one. But Bestiari tagging out here. What are you going to tag out into? Could tag out into Murmillo Pop itself. That is also something you can do. Although it does... Yeah, I mean, that might be the move, honestly. Murmillo Pop itself. That might honestly be the move. Actually, I think it is the move. I think Murmillo Pop itself is the move. Because then the Panther plus Reborn play is shut off. Looks like they're going to go for a Laquari here instead. But I think Murmillo Pop itself might have been the move, knowing the hand. Because, like, what do? They can, like, reborn the... Oh, well, I guess if you did that, then that would be kind of awkward here. Because Test Tiger would be able to, you know, use the Murmillo along with the reborn. So you reborn Murmillo, and then Test Tiger it away for... I don't even know what you Test Tiger it away for. Maybe another Murmillo to pop the Stratos, and then you attack him with a Glad Beast. But it means that you're not, like... I don't know, it still might have been the move, because now Alpha 2 can set up a big play here of their own. I guess they'd be able to do that either way. I guess the difference between ending on one Glad Beast or two. And if you got the Crow, like, it doesn't matter, because the Crow is going to, you know, get rid of the Prisma. And then, okay, it looks like that will go through. So the Prisma will come back. And Prisma is going to use the effect here, reveal that Geyserus, send a Bestiari, and then you probably summon the Panther, target the Laquari, and then shuffle that back. Could go for Test Tiger here. I don't see a reason to, really. But it is a bit scary because Run for Red, you know, they could have a crackback in hand. We know one of the cards is Prisma, so, you know, that Prisma isn't really going to be the biggest threat. But the other cards in hand could be something brutal. Like, they could be saving a Test Tiger there to Test Tiger the Prisma back, and then go for more stuff. But right now, if you two can still go for that Geyserus there, pop the Laquari, pop the Stratos, and get in for 2,400. And then bring out two other Glad Beasts on top of that. Whether you do bring out those other Glad Beasts or not is another question. I think I would, potentially going for the Laquari and Darius to then go for a Heraclinos. I feel like that is honestly a very good move. But, you know, Red for Red could have been holding a Test Tiger here. But if they are holding a Test Tiger, then it like, you know, you're kind of dead either way if they're holding a Test Tiger. So, maybe not. Well, no, you'd be dead because... Not quite, maybe. I don't know. Okay, there is the Laquari, and they're thinking about this second one. There's no Ready Ari in the format, so you can't really go for that. But they're thinking about what other thing to bring out, which is a big thing here. You know, do you go for the Darius to bring back like the Bestiari and then make a Heraclinos potentially? Or do you go for the second Laquari? It looks like they're going to go for the second Laquari there to just get the offensive pressure going. And then main two, they're probably going to set the Mirror Force, I assume. So we know the other cards here are DD Crow and Test Tiger. Right? Yeah, DD Crow, Test Tiger in hand. Yeah, so choosing not to go for the Heraclinos here. I maybe would have gone for it. Because we know there's no Crow. The question just becomes a Test Tiger play, but I guess this plays into Test Tiger a bit better, right? Because if they go Test Tiger for Murmillo, pop the, like, Laquari, then they still have to get through the other Laquari, which they can't necessarily do. So this plays around Test Tiger better, which honestly might be the move, right? So, yeah, I think it's probably the best. I mean, it doesn't play into the back row the best, or not back row, but like if Run for Red has some spells here, doesn't play into that as much, but MST for that, you know, Mirror Force is gone, so you just have to worry about Heavy or Cold Wave for that. But if it's Cold Wave, then you know that Run for Red can't really do much here, because again, like, they go Test Tiger from Murmillo, doesn't do anything, right? Prisma going to come down here, and that's going to send a Glad Beast here, and then probably go into Test Tiger. Now, if there's double Test Tiger, that's bad. Well, actually, no, Test Tiger is still nasty for you either way, because you can go into Geyserus. Well, actually, no, you can't, because DD Crow. So, yeah, you can't set up a Geyserus play here unless you... Yeah, you can't really set up a Geyserus play here. Double Test Tiger Dynasty, though, because you go Test Tiger, Murmillo, pop both monsters. But then you can't clear the back row. So you have to have like triple Test Tiger to really, get things just insanely good for you. But I think the double Laquari play was the move. Yeah. Very, very good move on Alfie2's part. And it looks like Run for Red is going to set a back row pass. So that's very interesting. So that back row could be something brutal. We could also have a Heraclinos play here from Alfie2 if they want to. They could also just go Test Tiger, Bestiari, pop the set. That might be the move as well. Honestly, I think that probably is the move. Yep, there's the Test Tiger. Test Tiger using its effect. And even if the set stops the Test Tiger play, it doesn't really do much because like if it's Book of Moon, Alfie just flips up the Laquari. Phoenix Moon Blast is kind of the biggest one, but then, you can still attack with Laquari into Prisma, go into another Glad Beast here. Or just leave the Laquari as is, but I feel like you might go into something. Well, it's tricky. I feel like, yeah, it's very, very, the dance here that they have to play is very interesting. It's very back and forth, very tricky. Darius is going to come down, not going for the Bestiari. I mean, you have the read that they don't have DD Crow from last turn, but if they drew DD Crow last turn, then that could be pretty bad. But yeah, it looks like that Bestiari will go through here, and now you can actually go for either a Heraclinos, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend because, you're trying to play around the Murmillo, or you can go for a Geyserus, which is indeed what they're going to do here. And there's going to be a lot of damage, too, on top of popping the entire board. So, yep, the Geyserus will pop both the Prisma and the back row, which is indeed a Mirror Force of Run from Red's own. And now, the Alfie2 is in a really, really good spot here. They're thinking about whether they can actually get more damage on board because they are very close. They're at 4,500. If they get 1,100 more, then, this will be the end of the game. So, can Darius bring back Darius? Darius can bring back Darius, so it looks like they're going to go for that. Send back that Laquari for a Darius, and that's 34 plus 24, and that will indeed be lethal damage. So, yeah. Yeah, that was a very, very good game from both players, but also from Alfie2, showing how to play under Crush Card Virus. And, yeah, that is a very, very intense game there. But very, very good one. And that's why the Gladiator is fun. Like, I don't know. It's just very, very unique in the game's history in terms of, like, what you have to do. And also, like, in terms of, like, in this format versus other formats, right? Like, immediately after this Intelidad, the deck gets, like, Gladiator Beast Quest and War Chariot. So, it's a very interesting sort of thing there. But yeah, I don't know. I like this mirror a lot. I know it's not the most popular mirror in the world, but I think it's very fun, and I think it's cool. So, I just, I like it. I think it's neat. It's like the Marge Simpson meme. I think it's neat. That's me. Yeah, the format as a whole, like, if you don't like the Glad Mirror, you can try other things too. So, like, you can try Lightsworn, you can try Teledad, or not Teledad yet, but you can try Dad, well, not even really Return, but you can try Dad decks, right? There are other things you can do and have fun with in this format. I do think it's more like GOAT format as opposed to just like tier 0 Glads. Although, again, with further testing, who knows what would happen. Maybe the format would turn out to be tier 0 Glads, but I think it's more like GOAT format where it's just the best deck around, although other decks can compete with it. So, yeah, I like this format a lot. I think it's cool. And I will be ranking it like, not like the highest on my GX format tier list ranking, which I will be doing relatively soon because I'm almost done, actually covering this format. I just really have the Hero Beat deck to show off and also Battery Men, which I am planning on making a video on here. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I think it should be good. Stratos coming down here, getting that search off for a hero. Pretty good start from Run from Red. Not many Glad Beasts can get over Stratos. Actually, none of them can really, except for Andal, which is not the Glad Beast you want to be summoning. But yeah, it looks like they're going to set 3 and pass. This does play into heavy. This does imply that there's a Solemn Judgment in Run from Red's back row. Also, I guess Dust Shoot here in their back row as well. Yeah, Dust Shoot's still around, but Red Eye Solar said, interesting question, but do you know about an old YouTuber, Ink95/Twiz? They're a big GB fan. I don't actually know about them, but, I always love to see other GB fans out there. So happy that there's more than one of us. But yeah, I don't know. GB is just a fun deck. Like, I don't know. I like it a lot. The GB fan I know about is Ma, who does GB content for like Edison mainly. But they're very good. So yeah, check them out if you want more GB content. I'd be curious to see their takes on GB in this format because it's very, very different from how it is later on in the game's history. Um, yeah, a lot more stuff you can do. Oh, and the Mind Crush. Oh, brutal. Yeah, setting the Rhoda so that way there's no real monsters that all of you two can work with here. That is rough. That is very rough. I don't know. Maybe, like, what do you set here even? Do you set 2? Do you set 1? It looks like they're just going to set 1. And it's probably the right thing to do. Probably the bottomless, I would assume. Bottomless shuts off more plays from Unfred than Book of Moon does right here. Book of Moon can also be used aggressively on your turn to get in for stuff, but yeah, that's just brutal. I mean, I will say it's better than Crush Guard Virus getting flipped up turn 1, probably, but it's not much better because, you know, full hand knowledge and a lot more there. Interesting going for the Panther here with no monsters on the opponent's side of the field, but it does imply that that back row is something to protect themselves here, so they know that LP2 does not really have a way to deal with that here. And they're going to set another back row there. Pass back. Does play under bottomless as well. And it does set up a clock, right? This is 2,800 damage coming in every turn. And you got to do something about that. And not looking good for LP2. They're going to set another. Okay, so passing back. Saying you're probably not going to heavy this board. Maybe they've got a solemn for if they do, but yeah, heavy here would be brutal. And it might be worth it for Run from Red to do, potentially. Although you do leave the Panther vulnerable at that point. But it's a lot of damage coming in. You know your opponent can't afford to solemn that heavy. Well, yeah, they can't afford to solemn the heavy, really, because Book of Moon won't. Does Book of Moon... Well, you probably solemn the heavy, because 2,600 life points there. You can still book down the Stratos, but it puts you in a really bad spot. Ernfred just going to battle, attacking in for 1,000 plus 1,800 here. And looks like the 1,000 will go through. Will the 1,800 go through? And it looks like that will go through as well. So dropping Alpha 2 down to 2,400. They really need something here to stop what Run for Red's doing here, but it looks like they're not going to have it necessarily. That Dust Shoot plus Mind Crush turn 1 is just brutal. And it can't happen in this format. It's one of the things that people, you know, take issue with around this time period. I mean, Crush Card Virus, you know, Mind Crush, Trap Dust Shoot, all those things can be very toxic, right? And, you know, I'm not trying to say that they can't be toxic, right? It's just something that is in the format. You have to deal with if you want to play the format. And it's just kind of an unfortunate aspect of it. But it looks like Alpha 2 going to set another pass back. We do know about the Book of Moon, so Book of Moon can still stop a Stratos here from attacking in, but this is going to be pretty rough overall. Run for Red's got to be feeling pretty good about this. They're going to attack in with the Panther first. Will Panther go through? Panther will go through. Stratos attacking in. You got to book this if you don't have anything else to stop it. Book will come down on that Stratos. Solemn Judgment coming down for that book. Will Alpha 2 have a Solemn Judgment of their own? Solemn coming down for Alpha 2 there, dropping down to 700 life points. Brain Con is not going to be usable at this point. And yeah, that will stop the Stratos there. Yeah, it's just rough. Very rough for Alpha 2 here. 3 back row from Run from Red. Probably some more Solemns there as well. Does not go in Alpha 2's way. At least you can bottomless the Stratos if they flip it up. But Test Tiger coming down. Test Tiger probably is attacking over the Stratos there. Not the best draw here, though. You do what you have to do, you know. Yeah, it's going to attack into the Stratos. Will that bait out a back row here? Run for it really thinking about this. I feel like given Alpha 2 has 2 back row there, We know that one of them is probably a brain control. We know that one of them, I mean, brain control could be in hand, but if the hand is brain control DD Crow, then there's still only 2 live back row there as a potential possibility. And one of those is bottomless. So it's bottomless and like one unknown that you have to worry about. So yeah, I'd book down the Test Tiger there because Stratos baits out the bottomless, and then there's the bottomless. Yep. So you know that one of the back rows brain. You know that one of the back row could be real. But if you got another monster, you probably just go for it, right? Could be a TT in the back row. Probably not a Mirror Force, but it could be a Mirror Force. I feel like probably not, though, because you probably flip Mirror Force before you flip Book. Prisma coming down. Seeing if that's okay from all of you two. They're going to ask about Prio on the Prisma. Prio and Prisma doesn't really matter because, okay, it looks like another Bottomless was back there. So Bottomless will be able to deal with the Prisma. But Alpha 2 is now in a really rough spot. We know DD Crow. We know back row's BrainCon there. So, yeah, it's looking very rough for Run from Red. No monsters in Alpha 2's graveyard, so they can't really play around DD Crow with Reborn. I mean, there are actually no monsters in Run from Red's graveyard either, so they can't really do anything with that. We know that Run from Red did not have a Solemn back there, though. That is something for Alpha 2 to know and think about. But good morning, gamers, indeed. Zachary and Cheese, welcome to the chat there. And Red Solari asked about Mind Control. Mindcon would do it, but it looks like they don't have the Mindcon there. So the Panthers are just going to get over the Tiger and pass back to Alpha 2. Alpha 2 in a very, very rough spot. Now, the thing is, I mean, Run for Red probably has other GBs in hand or other monsters, but yeah, you just got to set that Crow, set a back row, pass back. This is not going to be the best for Alpha 2 here. They can come back from this. There are ways, but it's just very, very unlikely given that the back row that Run for Red have are probably both real, and it's just not going to be that good. I mean, Alpha 2 not able to get into a Glad Beast this entire game because of that brutal Dust Shoot and Mind Crush opening there, and it's just not going well. Cold Wave here, that probably will wrap it up. Alpha 2 letting that go through, and yeah, this will probably be the end of the game here. Yep, Rescue Cat coming down, and you don't even need to tribute that thing. You just attack in to the set, attack in with Panther. Crush Guard Virus in the back row as well. Oh my word. So even if obviously was able to mount an aggressive front, the Crush Guard Virus would stop it. And yeah, that's brutal. So game 3, not much Glad Beast gameplay there, but it's just brutal. Zach G, that's a very, very good question, though. With no monster left on the field, why didn't you just summon Dark Magician and attack for a game? The world may never know, Zach and Cheese, but that would have potentially been the win in play. But either way, very, very good games from both duels here. Congratulations on Prodigy's victory. Congratulations to them. And yeah, so Gladby still reigning at the top of this format, but who knows how the next tournament will go. Maybe things could shift around. Maybe Lightsworn top. Well, Lightsworn did top, but maybe it wins next time. Maybe it makes it to finals. Maybe Hero Beat turns out there's something there. I don't know. Maybe Dad Return makes a comeback. Who can say? We'll just have to see how the meta continues to evolve from here if people continue to play tournaments in this format. I do think that personally, though, Gladby is still the best deck in the room. And it will take some better results from other decks to change that opinion from me. But yeah, GG's to both players, as Bryce Solari says. And that's probably going to do it for me right now. I will be streaming later today as well for a Teledad local. So diving into Teledad, seeing how that format is as a little bit of a taste of the month to come. So definitely stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified when these streams happen. And yeah, this was sort of a last minute stream, just because I found out last night that was happening this morning, and then I found out this morning that was happening at 9 a.m. EST, so I had to scramble together, so not much announcement there. So sorry for the short notice, but it's been a very, very fun sort of thing to stream. So hopefully I can stream more of these finals in the future. But I hope you enjoyed as always. Until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off. Peace.